Let's get it going. This is Buck City. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You see the title? You see the title. Buck City Kennels in the building. What's going on? The home of the wake and bake. The home of the wake and bake. You guys go ahead and tap in, get your subscription. It just takes one button to get a subscription to the APBT radio. You know what it is. But today, we got Tom Garner in the building. We got Tom Garner in the building. Tom Garner Kennels podcast, episode 3, medicine and husbandry. Let's get it. Let's get it. You know what's up. Thanks for everybody that checked out the last video I did, not only on this subject, but on the Tom Garner plethora of subjects, right? It's never ending when it comes to Tom Garner and all the work he's put in. You know, let's put that out there first. I haven't seen this, so this would be another organic jump off. I was gonna do it live so you guys can get it in with me, but you know, I didn't have my thumbnails and everything ready, and you know, all of that stuff. I actually seen this joint. It was up about an hour. It says 2 hours now. I set up everything, so it says 2 hours. This one just dropped. I'll try to get mine out today. Hopefully, you know how these computers are, and then you want to use them, and everybody. So I like doing a lot of this stuff early in the morning before the kids get up and get to streaming. And Merry Christmas, though. Merry Christmas. Hopefully this will be a Christmas gift for you if you haven't already saw it, or if you haven't already subscribed to the Buck City Kennels or Tom Garner podcast channel, Tom Garner channel. You know what I'm saying? Get the Buck City Kennels live. You know where you can go support all that good stuff. APBT Radio. We in the building. Subscribe. Let's get it. Hold on. There's one more thing I gotta do. Right? Let's get that straight, right? Let's go.
About the processes with the bloodlines and how the genetics are passed forward. Some of the stuff we're getting into is historical stuff that I every now and then think about. So it may not flow quite as readily. We'll see.
Yeah, we got a lot of great feedback from the first couple of episodes. We got a lot of useless feedback as well. We appreciate everybody that watched and shared around. We thought we'd get a couple thousand views, but I think we just hit 20,000.
Did we?
So we appreciate everybody that watched and
Stop it.
Through and shared with everybody.
Don't do that.
Maybe I'll say that in the beginning.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Useful stuff.
Don't do that.
In terms of questions, like,
man, you said you thought you'd get a couple thousand views, bro. Man, you know anything with Tom Garner's gonna break the internet. Okay, I probably got like 4,000 or 5,000 on my video alone that I did on this topic. One of them didn't do so great, maybe about 3,000. But one of them did about 4,000 or 5,000 alone. So just for the fact that you thought that it was gonna do, small numbers. I mean, come on. I mean, and 20,000 is small. When you talk about it, I see channels with 2,000 in the chat. I mean, I was on 7/8 Sports TV last night, and there was about 800 in the chat, 900 in the chat alone. This isn't, we're not talking about 80 in the chat, 70 in the chat, so you got these big channels, but in this small neck of the woods of the American Pit Bull Terrier, which is probably the most important space on the internet, YouTube and all, Yes, Buck City said it. Buck City said it. Go ahead and shoot the messenger. You dig? These these little sectors, these little groups, you know, this guy's huge, man. So you're gonna get 5 to 25, 30, 50,000 each time. Each time. 5 might be the bare minimum for a guy like Tom Garner.
Questions that we can ask on here and that are helpful. I think I really appreciate the comment I got about my Mr. Rogers demeanor. I don't know if they were meaning that as a dig on me or not, but I'm a huge Mr. Rogers fan, so thanks for that.
I think most of us are.
Yeah.
I think the kind of person who would dislike Mr. Rogers probably wouldn't be in our friend circle.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
Hey, you got to check old Mr. Rogers out, man. He had a cold demeanor. Man. His values and some of the things that he said. Of course, we're not paying no attention if you're a kid watching that shit for all the. I'm gonna say old heads. You know, I'm gonna say old heads for this one. You know, that we're all familiar with Mr. Rogers. We didn't realize what he was saying or doing, and I won't go over it right now. It's not really important, but go back and check out Mr. Rogers and just some of the things that he got on there. You know. And he's right. If you don't agree, then you might not be a part of that friend circle.
And there were a lot of great questions, not helpful stuff, just to get some of the negative stuff out of the way before we get into the interview. Not helpful stuff is these questions aren't good, or these questions are not hard-hitting enough, and then not giving me a hard-hitting question or a good question. So, like, if you want to criticize it, welcome. Like, some of the audio and video criticisms, they were great, so we changed a few things, and hopefully we get a little bit better audio and video this time. But if you don't like something, just give us a question that you'd want to hear, like we'd ask for, and we'll be happy to get it in there if it's a great question. And
hey, once you guys go over there and say, set up an interview with Buck City Kennels. Set up an interview with Buck City Kennels. That would eliminate it all. That would eliminate it all. That way I can get the questions from you guys and I can get to it and, you know, find out, you know what I mean? And I'll be the judge if I felt like it was a genuine answer or not. Everything is fair use. Everything on this channel is fair use. You know, we don't want any copyright strikes. Somebody just text me, like, you know, make sure you say fair use. I just got off the phone with them. I was just getting up, you know, rolling up all that good stuff, and they hit me up. I'm like, well, shit, let me hit you after I get this Tom Garner thing in the air. He's already up on there. So everything is fair use. You know, we don't want any copyright strikes for nothing. We don't want no copyright strikes. You dig? This is what we do. This is what we do. Let me see. Hold up. Okay. Let me make sure. Let me make sure. Okay, there we go. There we go.
Also, moving forward, we're gonna be asking a lot of questions that we really care about, and our initial video was just for fun, just absolute nonsense questions that we see on Facebook to just have some fun and address. So
yeah, with respect to both points that you've just made.
So Facebook is a hub where they go. So you guys got to be careful. If you're over there, that's a hub where they're gonna go because, I mean, let's be honest, there is a lot of nonsense over there. I like to look at the cup half full and feel like people have the chance to change and whatnot and try to get it together. But as time goes on and, these years just come in and they come out and come in and come out, it looks like it's never going to be a shortage of idiots. These idiots have had the chance to come out in the world and actually breed. So if it's idiots breed more idiots, you're going to get more idiots. Sad to say.
Now would be a good time to reiterate that the purpose in doing this is not so much self-promotion for me.
Yeah.
It's not me on trial or me showing out. It's me trying to pass forward knowledge about our breed, so to the ultimate end.
Nah, we got some questions. Buck City's an asshole, man. One thing about it, people been asking about it. I ain't gonna put it out there, man. But people from different camps been asking, who is this guy? You know what I'm saying? So that's a good thing. You know what I'm saying? Some people, because I've gotten comments like you're just like a fly, on the fucking hat of this motherfucker. He just swipe left and you gone. You know what I'm saying? So for the fact that a motherfucker had to look at me first and then swipe, that's flattering.
Of better treatment, better understanding of the pit bull around the world. I hate to say this, but there's more harm done to the pit bull breed by people who are ignorant than probably by people who just are biased. People just don't understand the essential nature of the breed, and a lot of times they're following bizarre value systems that may reflect more of some culture than it does of a true understanding between man and dog. So most of what I'm trying to do here is pass
that reflects culture. I would have had to dig into that. Because it reflects culture. I would have had to dig in that just due to the climate and everything going on in America. You know what I'm saying? It's for me, it would be good to kind of clarify what do you mean? What do you mean by the culture? And I'm not implying anything. I just want clarity, because when people talk and you let them talk, sometimes that's the best thing you can do. Just let a motherfucker talk, bro. Their intentions will come out. Their intentions will come out. I mean, you can see what I'm doing. What's my intention? Oh, what his intention is to get Tom Garner pissed off, or you know what I'm saying? No, I'm growing my channel. I feel like he's in a unique position and it feels like it's good to come over to these YouTube spaces and shit, right? When you come over to the social media, I mean, people dragged me. They threw me under the bus. I'm talking about even before, all of this shit, motherfuckers, they don't like your program, or they like your program, or they do, they trying to get some clout off your program. Hey, it's wide open. It's a wide open thing, right?
Forward information that I have collected over my 45 years. Not so much just collected, but some of it is collected, and a lot of it is a lot of it will turn out to be unique within your experience, because a lot of it I've created. But I'm happy to share my time and my energies to the betterment of the breed, the higher quality living for our dogs, better understanding of the breed.
I don't know how old Tom is, but he said he got 45 in. Let's just say I mean, I would say he's about 65. 65, something like that. I think my dad is about 65. My parents are 65. Let me make sure. Yeah, my parents are 65. Garner's probably got to be about 65. If I'm guessing. So he's probably got around these dogs in his 20s. You know what I'm saying? 45 years that's a long time. That's a long time. No matter if you're on a big scale, a small scale, if you're making sandwiches, if you're making envelopes, anything that you're creating and you're doing for a long period of time, let's say for conversation's sake, 45 years, you're gonna know some shit. So, let's cut all the bullshit. This guy has a treasure chest of knowledge.
Actual improvement of the breed so that the breed is admired on the level that it deserves and is respected from the perspective of society. That's right. That's my reason for doing this.
All right. Well, hopefully now that we're getting into things that I think can help people, we'll get.
No, I think those questions, that people had, even though you thought they were silly, and now this is like a conversation between the guy on the video and Tom Garner. You know what I'm saying? People ask some good questions, and this is the things that we want to get into and we want to talk about. I mean, the medicine and husbandry, I mean, that's great. That's great. Those are great topics to talk about. But there's a reason why you did those videos first, because the controversy and all of the shit show and everybody thinks it's funny.
Just as good of a response, because as much as people said that the questions were goofy coming from Facebook, it got 20,000 views. So hopefully now that we're into more helpful questions, we'll prove it that people don't just want to hear nonsense. Maybe 30,000 people want to hear things that can help people. So just to start this out with some for sure helpful stuff, one of the most important things, I thought the best compliment that was given in the comments for you to speak on was on animal husbandry. So the care of the animals, how to do better than good. So if you could just speak on animal husbandry and just taking care of animals in terms of like vaccinations, some of the medications that we use, timetables for medications and things like that, that may be helpful for some people.
That can be a fairly elaborate thing to get into, but if now's the time, then we obviously work very hard to to have an efficient operation. It all comes down to how much work you want to do and how much good you want that work to do. And if you
right, we got to pause it every now and then. It's everything's fair use. Everything is fair use. Everything is fair use. We don't want any smoke over there. We don't want any emails talking about copyright strikes and we don't need that. We don't need that. That's I could just see where that will go, and we definitely don't need that. You know what I'm saying?
Understand the science of it. A lot of this is about honoring the correct vaccination schedules, keeping parasites out of your animals, providing proper nutrition. And I see so many people out breeding dogs and managing yards of dogs that are they've got parasite problems, and they just keep upgrading and spending more and more money on dog food. Whenever what they're really trying to do is they're trying to compensate for they're trying to feed the parasites and the dog at the same time.
Bingo. You're trying to feed the dog and the parasites at the same time. And you're upgrading your feed, and you're getting this. What feed works? What feed work? Let's be honest. Most of the feeds work, right? If we're just talking about a maintenance type of deal, right? You gotta keep those dogs clean. You gotta keep them clean.
We feed a high quality dog food that's been found to be acceptable throughout the fraternity across the nation. We feed Value Pack Black Bag. That's a 28-20 dog food, 28% protein, 20% fat, and by virtue of buying it in tractor trailer load lots. I think the last I bought was like 30.
I think somebody said something about a dog food that they say if you feed this food, then you're involved in some type of, X activities, and you know what I'm saying? And then now it's like, the fraternity, I can see how that can play out. I can see how that can end up playing out. Because they'll look for any corny thing to try to get it to get some traction.
To $33 a bag. For you guys out there that are paying $50 a bag, I'm sorry to even share that with you, because I know that hurts you in the gut.
Right.
But
especially when we're getting recalls for them $50, $60 bag, $55 bags. They're getting big recalls.
The point is that if you stay on top of things and find value wherever you can find value, without shortcutting what your dog is eating, the opportunities are out there. I just mentioned the necessity of keeping parasites out of your dogs. There's a variety of worms, there are several types of tapeworms, but there are some things out there that are not commonly known. Whenever you're raising a litter of puppies and suddenly everybody's got a bloody stool. If you've been in the dogs long at all, that doesn't lead.
Everybody says parvo. As soon as you see bloody stool, everybody runs, throws their hands up in the air and says parvo. Especially after you already vaccinated for parvo. Right?
Anywhere good. Usually it's going to turn out to be either, if they got bloody stools, it's going to turn out to be either hookworms or giardia or coccidia, or there are bacteria that will cause a bloody stool, and most people don't know much about the bacteria that will give the same symptoms. A common scenario is to see a bloody stool, either in a litter or in an individual. Take the dog to the vet. The vet will.
Cause we always got to talk. He's very politically correct, and when you're moving around on these platforms, taking it to the vet is always going to be the best option for you. Okay. Taking the dog to the vet, letting it get professionally screened is the best way. It's the best way to go.
We'll identify, we'll look at the stool and say, we've got giardia here. What they don't say, what they don't explain to you is that almost every dog in the world has giardia. The question is does it exist at a clinical level? In other words, is there enough of it to cause this bloody stool? If there is, then it's going to impair the health of the dog. A dog can't constantly lose blood and be at peak health. But the fact that they found Giardia and that the dog has a bloody stool is no guarantee that the Giardia is what's causing the bloody stool.
Sure.
Given the fact,
when you say a clinical level,
yeah,
can you explain what you mean by at a clinical level?
that basically the symptoms are observable to
enough to affect the dog.
To any knowledgeable viewer, or to even not knowledgeable. Anybody can see blood in a stool. It means that it has manifestations that are evident to anybody assessing the health of the pup.
Yeah.
So, a subclinical level, the dog would have detectable Giardia. In other words, you look at the stool sample under a scope under the right conditions, and you'll be able to see Giardia, but there won't be any bloody stool.
Sure.
So you have to know to distinguish between correlation and causality.
Right.
The presence of the Giardia does not mean it's the cause of the bloody stool.
Right. Basically.
Right. So there's a lot of things that could be attached to it, and Giardia is a very common parasite that everybody's going to come in contact with. Just like he said, it's very easy to get. Dog eat out of the same bowl. If it does, you're sniffing behind other dogs, you're doing different things, you're going to get Giardia. It's very easy, and it's very easy to cure. It's very easy to attack.
The presence of it doesn't mean that's what you need to treat. It could be something else.
It doesn't mean it.
Yeah.
And to make it even more complex, you've got different strains of Giardia that will respond to one medication or another. So here's a typical course of action. You take your puppy in, the vet examines the stool, determines that there is Giardia present in the pup, gives you either metronidazole or fenbendazole. You go home, you treat this pup, and after about 3 days, you feel like you're seeing a positive change. Either the bloodiness is gone or it's diminished. But then 4 or 5 days later, it's back. And you've done a full course of treatment. So you go back and the vet will, whichever medication he prescribes.
And you see how that you see how that works. You see how this could be a disaster if and like they want people not to be able to give medication and do, you know what I'm saying? Like we can't do any type of studies. We can't help our animals out because it'll cost a fortune if we take it to the vet. So right there, you can see how they're trying to make it more difficult to own the dogs, period. Okay? Like, I don't need a whole bunch of vet visits and shit, even though that's what the most popular and the safest thing to say, right? To take the dog to the vet over and over again, 5, 6, 7, 12 times. When you can just treat the dog and, the dog will be fine.
Prescribed, if it was fenbendazole, now he's going to prescribe metronidazole.
Sure.
Or if he's prescribed metronidazole, now he's going to prescribe fenbendazole.
Right.
So you go home, do the treatment, you have exactly the same course of events. You get a reduction in the bloody stool, and then you get a return of the bloody stool. So you go back to the vet, and the vet says, well, let's use them together now. Okay, so by now you're cussing a little bit because you spent hundreds of dollars and you still got this issue, and it leaves you exasperated. And I know there's probably 1,000 people out there, whenever they see this interview, that's going to say, yeah, because they've been in that frustration. It's baffling. But anyway, you go back you do the treatment with the two together, and you later you look at your bill, and you see where they've
An antibiotic.
yeah
In the bill.
they've added clavamox.
Yeah.
Okay, clavamox or even just amoxicillin knocks out a bacterium called Clostridium perfringens, and is often
Damn, Google that shit, right?
as not that was the actual true cause of the bloody stool, as opposed to the giardia. Not saying that giardia ain't real. It is, and it's a nasty thing to deal with. One reason that it's so nasty is that the giardia occur in little pods that close up and seal themselves off, and it's very hard to kill them under that condition. Whenever they've gone dormant and wrapped themselves up in this little pod, it's very hard to kill. But at any rate, what this all adds up to is, after having gone through this routine numerous times, and doing a little more reading than most people do, learned a little more
Fair use. Everything's fair use.
about the Clostridium perfringens, and that it's relatively easy to knock out either with just amoxicillin or clavamox, which is supercharged amoxicillin with potassium added. And we don't want to have a 4-week routine clearing up a bloody stool. So what I do is I purchase metronidazole and fenbendazole and amoxicillin in kilo-sized lots, and very carefully select the correct doses, very carefully evaluated the compatibility of all these medications. There's no contraindication of any combination or collectively of those medications.
Yeah, he sounds very knowledgeable about the medications, and because you're dealing with this shit every day, and when you got a lot of dogs and you're testing them, and everybody's not gonna come clean, so you're gonna have to change up the regular methods. But this is dicey. This is real dicey, honestly, for a Buck City jump off. You know what I'm saying? I just don't see it being to your advantage that you're. And hey, everybody does their own shit. Motherfuckers are certified. They got vets and shit come to your fucking house. And that's great. I think that's what we should be talking about more. But just the information about the different type of medications and the fact that you can buy different shit, it definitely can be helpful. But hey, great interview, man. It's a great fucking interview.
So I'm able to add those medications to a carrier agent. What's healthier than flaxseed oil? That's what I use as a carrier substance, and mix the other 3 antibiotics with the flaxseed oil in the proper proportion. Blend it and keep it on hand anytime we have a bloody stool in a pup here or in a litter. In just a few days it's gone, and it stays gone. So there's lots of things like that if you know them and you know how to be on top of them, you can totally alter the trajectory of your operation. You can maintain a high degree of health in your operation as a whole.
Maintaining a high degree of health. Whew, that's huge. That's huge, So yeah, no, this video is gonna get a lot more traction because this is the shit that they want to know about. This is the shit that they want to know about. Natural remedies to knock out parasites, that let's just, law enforcement, what could they say about that, right? Of course, we know what they do. We know what they do.
Another thing I should mention is how difficult it is to keep hookworms out of your dogs. Over the last 10 to 15 years, medications that were very susceptible, very effective at clearing hookworms lost their effectiveness. One can just assume that hookworms evolved, and it didn't become widespread that was the case. But I had enough vets assure me that the evolution had occurred. There's only one medication that continues to be highly effective, highly reliable in eliminating hookworms, and that is ivermectin. You should already be giving every pup or dog in your care a treatment of ivermectin every month to prevent heartworms.
I thought ivermectin was only for horseworm medication and to save Joe Rogan from COVID-19. You can actually use it on dogs.
Well, it won its Nobel Prize for a special fever in Africa, and it won that Nobel Prize because of its efficacy in achieving its objective, but also the safety that accompanied that. It didn't have a handful of side effects. As I understand it, the way that it works is that it disrupts the communication from one end of a cell to another, and that doesn't necessarily mean just a cell. Even in viral particles, the ability of one end of the viral particle to communicate with the other end is disrupted by the ivermectin, and so that's the reason that it has found utility in treating bacterial diseases and also viral diseases.
And that's the reason why they took a lot of that shit up off them shelves and shit. You know what I'm saying? So, hey man, you just gotta soak it up. Hey, chew up the meat and spit out the bones, fellas. Educational purposes only. Fair use.
But we all love Joe Rogan, and we're glad that whatever good he got out of it, that he did. And I know a ton of people that are absolutely confident that their ride through COVID was made much more manageable by the presence of ivermectin.
Yeah, myself included.
Yep.
And I read a study that showed that it slowed down viral replication.
Yep.
Like, I didn't just take it because people said it worked.
Yeah.
Now that study may have other studies that say otherwise, but it was enough for me.
Man, I honestly, I don't think I'm taking no ivermectin. Hey, listen, and I heard some shit about that, and you know how Buck City do. I dribble, go to the outside and shoot. Man, look, I'm not gonna get into a lot of shit sometimes, and you'll notice that because I think it's over because I wasn't moving like that. I don't want, if you're moving a certain way, you got to continue to move, the way you move, So, yeah, some things I won't touch though. I won't, we're not talking about every goddamn thing, ivermectin, we know what it is. We know that it's has its effects when it comes to worms and different things. Different parts of the country, you're gonna experience heartworms, and the fact that you're getting dogs from all over. You might get a puppy from Florida. You live in Montana, or you're saying you might get one from Arizona, and you live in goddamn, you know what I'm saying, New York. So you got different climate, different things, things like heartworms and some of these different type of worms. You're gonna experience a lot more, on these other type of climates, different yards. So yeah, ivermectin, that's something that somebody from down south, would definitely have to keep up on every month to prevent that, So, and it gets rough. You got 100 dogs, you got 50 dogs, you got 20 dogs, however many dogs you got, and you got to do this over and over and test and poop samples, and it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense how they would even have the audacity to ask for vet records and whatnot. If you don't have them, if you don't have those vet records, they're gonna frown upon that. Like that's gonna be something that you're gonna have to explain. Like, okay, so explain that you don't have any vet records, and it's like, damn, got me right there, so for some, but we got to be the voice so that we can speak out on some of this discrimination that comes at the breed in a whole. Like, we get scrutinized, and we're held to a different standard when it comes to taking your dog to the vet, or you got a different type of dog, German Shepherd, mutt type of dog. You might not ever have to produce a document about this motherfucker, but they feel that you got multiple, and rather, if they think that you're engaging in some type of fighting or you're doing it for profit, they're gonna frown up on you, because everybody wants you to do what they do. They want you to, live a regular life and, with one dog and shit, just like them, or no dogs. So, it is what it is, man. The education, this is what we need. Go back, write some of these, some of this stuff down. These medicines, different things, antibiotics, different things that you hear on these podcasts, and you write that shit down and do your research. TG in the building. TG. But yeah, tell them, since they listening to all the comments and everything, let me do the interview, and I incorporate it with, I got a bunch of questions and things that I would like to ask, just on some community shit. It doesn't matter. Of course, I'm gonna dig into the dogs. I got some questions when it comes to the dogs. But other than that, we can definitely get a good format. I'm sure some people will go over there and leave a few comments for me, just to say, hey man, Buck City wants to do that interview, the Tom Garner, the exclusive, you dig? That would be great.
We share the love of Google, and probably we share the hate of Google, because there's a lot of truth to be gleaned from Google. Google's probably educated more people than any university in the world, but at the same time, since a lot of that information comes from people, there's as much bullshit mixed with it as there is truth, and you still got to be able to sort it out.
Right.
At any rate,
Tom Garner, man, he got some cool little, little parables and shit. He got some cool little sayings. You get all this information, and Google has educated so many people, more people than the universities. But when you get all this shit on Google, I mean, it's going to be a lot of bullshit you're going to have to sift through. And that goes with these dogs too. That goes with these animals too. You know, it's going to be a lot of bullshit you're going to have to sift through. Everything that people post isn't real. You know, it isn't real. It's for entertainment purposes. You know, so for you to go on Google and find something about somebody or whatever and then take it and think that it's legit, law enforcement, I think it's silly.
You add a dose of politics to it, and then there's intentional obscuring of the truth. And but still, there's enough truth to be gleaned just from going and reading studies. And I've done a lot of reading throughout my life, but in the last 30 years, most of it's just been reading studies, because most everything else is just meant to entertain.
Sure. Just a lot of people's ideas.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to get you off track. We were
It's
talking
fine.
about puppies got bloody stools. We were talking about things that happen to dogmen all the time. Puppies got bloody stools.
Mhm.
We've gone to the vet. He's tried to treat 3 things. So now we're at metronidazole, fenbendazole, and an antibiotic.
Yeah. So, elaborating on that, we've moved over to ivermectin as being an effective treatment for way of managing multiple things. Heartworms kills the microfilaria in the bloodstream if you have developing heartworms. But probably the biggest benefit that it has is if you're actually treating your dog with ivermectin as a heartworm preventative, and that's what HeartGuard is. It's ivermectin. You are at the same time eliminating hookworms from your dogs. The way we manage that here on Bulldog Hill is as many dogs as we have here, you have to look at all aspects of what's involved in the application of any given medication. So we use a transdermal form of ivermectin, which is actually made for cattle. By transdermal, what that means is
Okay, so that HeartGuard is ivermectin. That's good to know. That's good to know. But that shit's kind of expensive, so I'd like to hear what they supplementing to get that.
you have chemical agents, typically solvents, which will combine with substances. It's been my experience that in most cases that if what's known as a transdermal solvent, to which DMSO is the one that I primarily work with, if it is a solvent for a substance in particular, and if that substance in particular has a molecular weight under 700, that it will drag it right through the skin. It will become systemic without going through the digestive system, without going through the liver, which is where first pass occurs. A lot of things can't pass through the liver without being diminished or eliminated. So the way that you can get certain medications through the skin without going through first pass, without being filtered out by the liver, is to use a transdermal solvent. And again, the criteria would include that the substance needs to be soluble with your transdermal solvent, and it has to have a molecular weight under 700. It's probably a little more esoteric and involved than most people want to get into, but there's 2 or 3% out there that are saying, hell yeah.
And about 97% that might be saying, what's transdermal? Which just means it goes
Across
through the skin.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So getting back to what we do here, we use a product that's made for cattle. Durvet is the brand that we use, and we give every dog in our possession, every dog that's above 4 months old, that's in our possession, they get dosed 1 milliliter per 22 pounds
Right.
of the Durvet.
So that heartworms, it's a lot down in them neck of the woods. You know, you get in those neck of the woods and heartworms is real prevalent. It is, because they going as low as 4-month-old puppies. So that'll let you know that, you know, you don't even want to fuck around at all. You know, different times of year, summertime, you know, them damn mosquitoes. And I mean, come on now. Come on. You dig? So when you get these animals, you got to make sure you continue those same regimens. I believe it doesn't matter where you're from at that point. You know, to be safe, to be on the safe side. Go get you some of that damn Heart Guard or something. You know, that's all you can get a hold of.
Product, and it's a transdermal solvent mixed with ivermectin. It's dropped between the shoulder blades, goes right through the skin, gets in the system, and we don't have hookworms, we don't have heartworms. So you have to pick out a day of the month and reliably provide that agent.
And toxicity of ivermectin.
Again, it was selected for the Nobel Prize largely on its safety. Most everybody I know is taking it in relatively large doses for weeks at a time whenever we went through all the COVID mess, and I've not seen any negative consequence on anybody.
Dicey. Yeah, he said it's that beyond esoteric type shit. Hey, man. Yeah. So Tom, you know, just because he knows about the esoteric type of shit, you know, that lets me know that he studies on another level, or he's around people that talk about this shit on a regular basis, you know. That's a good thing. You know, you spend years of your life educating yourself. That's good. And when you're going through it, you got this successful yard. It's all about keeping it successful, no matter what you got to go through. Rather, if you got to move locations, whatever you got to do. If you got to upgrade the way you're doing this, or you got to change the way you're buying your feed, you know, whatever you got to do, you got to get it. Everything's fair use. It's your boy Buck City Kennels. Hit the like button. Hit the like button on the video. You know, I don't want to see nobody in the comments talking about why is he pausing it or whatever. You know, this is my channel, bruh. This is the way I do my shit. Okay? If you're lucky, I'll pin the original video in the comments. You dig? And you can go check out the original video, but you rocking out with Buck City. Okay? So subscribe to the channel and go over there and subscribe over there too.
Yeah, I haven't. Sometimes if I'm worried about the weight of a dog, if it's a 50-pound dog, like I'll just dose it at 3 milliliters. So at what it would say 66 pounds is, but no problems.
Well, that reminds me of a study that I read when I first started using ivermectin, which was in the late 1980s. And that study was done at Tulane University. Sample size was not huge, probably 30-ish. And they overdosed by a factor of 10. And of all the dogs that received 10 times of the dose that they were supposed to receive, there was one dog that got a little bit sleepy.
Sure.
And who knows why he got sleepy. He may have, maybe he didn't sleep the night before, but that's the only thing. Lethargy is the word they use for that. And but there was no lasting consequences, and yeah, it's super safe.
Not to overdose your dogs, but there's a wider range that you could be safe with that medication than with most other medications.
And there are different recommended dosages for different applications. So whereas what I've settled on after all these years is
Do your research, people, because they're not gonna want to hear. Rather, if you're using a safe amount of dosage, and they're not gonna want to hear about the Nobel Peace Prize and shit. They're gonna say that you're doing your own home veterinary practices, and that's when you're dealing with the law. When they done rolled up on your ass in 2023, okay, and this is what they're on. They're already coming at you because they feel you're a criminal, right? Let's get that out the way. You own these dogs. They thinking you're doing some type of criminal activity. So once they get a hold of that, and once they need something to stand on, that's what they're gonna allude to. So do your research, my people, and use those vets. Use those vets. And when you're on here, that's what you're talking about. Using veterinarian. Now, if you're at the vet and you're watching them do procedures and everything, right? That's the way to get that across. But great video, man. Salute Tom Garner, man.
for heartworm preventative and for hookworms. Like a 50-pound dog, we get about half a milliliter. The original dosing just for heartworm preventative was 1/10 of a milliliter per 40 pounds. And that was what originally came out of the Tulane study. But the safety factor is so great, and you increase the number of pathogens or parasites that you can eliminate significantly whenever you elevate the dose. So a good compromise dose, about a half a milliliter per 50 pounds.
So just to kind of wrap up, we'll probably go into husbandry a lot more because you can talk about housing.
I can keep talking on this if you want me to, but there are some people getting right now, I promise you, that are getting cross-eyed from the technical aspects of some of this, and they want to be entertained a little bit. So
yeah, just to wrap it up, for the three main medications that we've talked about.
Nah, we here. I'm gonna check this one out again. I should have looked at it before I did the reaction, because he did dig into some shit. But it's all there. It's different terminology. I don't want any of y'all to be running from any of this shit. You get those words, you fucking write them down, and you look that shit up. You turn your room into a fucking dormitory, and you're studying, and you're getting your shit.
Ivermectin, fenbendazole, and praziquantel. That's our main medications that we use monthly. So if you could just kind of give people a summary of time frames to use that and how it's used.
Well, I buy, again, my fenbendazole in kilo-sized lots, and mix it with RF1, which is a nutritional supplement that I also manufacture. It's the number one leading conditioning aid nutritional supplement package in the world for this breed. And but since I make my own, I'm the one who formulated it, and I'm the one who manufactures it. And dogs find it so tasty. It is an ideal way of simultaneously addressing any minor nutritional deficiencies that might exist in the dog. And if you mix it with worming medications, you're doing two things at once. You're killing the worms and trying to feed them back up to spec again. So we will do these applications of fenbendazole in pairs. And the reason for that is fenbendazole is an effective wormer against most all worms that we have to worry about, except for two. One is the Echinococcus tapeworm, and we use praziquantel for that, and the other one is the hookworms, and we just talked at length about that. So for everything else besides those two varieties of worms, we're providing fenbendazole. And I don't try to remember all these things, but sometimes the numbers stick with you. We end up giving about 1.5 grams per 60 pounds. And these dosages are commonly available, very, very well established. But we'll mix a kilo of fenbendazole with about 17 pounds of RF1, mix it up very thoroughly.
See, you got to break that shit down. See, me, I'm going to be breaking these numbers down. Let me go back just a second. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm going to want to break these numbers down and into a smaller scale to where it's only for about 5 dogs or 10 dogs. Right? So you got the whole kilo, you know, that's 36 ounces. Right? So we're going to have to break that motherfucker up so I can get a smaller dosage of it. But let me get that one.
Varieties of worms, we're providing fenbendazole. And, I don't try to remember all these things, but sometimes the numbers stick with you. We end up giving about 1.5 grams per 60 pounds. And these dosages are commonly available, very, very well established. But we'll mix a kilo of fenbendazole with about 17 pounds of RF1, mix it up very thoroughly. You absolutely have to end up with a homogeneous distribution. So it's got to be thoroughly mixed, and so that's given. And since fenbendazole is only truly effective against the adult state of these worms that we indicated are susceptible to it, you still have the juveniles lurking, and so you give it to everybody for 3 days, and that covers all these worms. If you want to make a good effort towards eliminating Giardia, although there are other experiences that tell us that it's not always effective by itself. But if you want to make a good effort at it, you can go 5 days. So 5 days of fenbendazole will cover all it.
They mixing up a whole bunch of shit over there. You know what I'm saying? It's about a 5 to 6 ratio, 5 to 6.5 ratio. No, 1 to 6.5. So you might do about 6.5 kilos to 1 kilo mix. So it'd be about a 1 to 6.5. I have to do the math. Like I said, you got to do your shit. But I'm just over here checking out some of these numbers and shit. You know, that's what we do.
These worms we mentioned, and a good stab at Giardia. But you have to repeat in 3 weeks to allow the time for the juvenile state of the worms to reach adulthood, and then the fenbendazole will knock them out as well. So that's how we talked about how we use the ivermectin for the hookworms. We've used the fenbendazole for the bulk of the worms. That leaves the one worm that the fenbendazole won't get, and that is the Echinococcus tapeworm. And we use praziquantel for that. I mix it up with the RF1 in its own separate container, and the first 2 days of the 3 we will give praziquantel. Some studies indicate 1 time would be enough. Some studies indicate that maybe 2 times is necessary. So we don't want to leave question marks. So we do 2 consecutive days of the praziquantel mixed with RF1 at the same time that we're giving the fenbendazole mixed with the RF1. The one detail that we haven't covered yet is how frequently do we need to do these 2 pairings. So we'll administer the fenbendazole, skip 3 weeks, administer the fenbendazole again, and then we will rinse and repeat 3 months later. So you end up doing this about 4 times a year. That works very well for us. Our dogs are
I mean, if y'all getting dogs from over there, you guys better be repeating this shit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because I mean, and I wouldn't say it's an extensive amount of work. You know, you're giving them two different types of worm mixtures, you know, simultaneously and, you know, at different times to where it's either a month or less than a month. They talking about 3 weeks. I mean, you know, and then, you know, for the heartworms and hookworms and shit, you know, the ivermectin, it's not complex, but you know, you're gonna want people to sustain that. I would guess, you know. So if you are copping, if you over there copping, you dig, you might want to be on top of that. You might want to be on top of that. Everything is fair use. Everything is fair use, you dig.
Typically quite healthy, and it's unusual to have any kind of parasites in our dogs after following these routines.
And then monthly ivermectin.
Yeah, the ivermectin is once a month. The thing that we haven't really covered yet is vaccinations. There is a superb vaccination for parvo. Parvo is the biggest thing you have to worry about in terms.
Okay, I'm gonna rewind him just a tad because, you know, he dug in about the parasites and, you know, all of that. Now, you know, he's jumping into vaccinations, but if you're keeping your parasites down on your yard as a whole, not just your puppies. Some people like to neglect all of the other dogs and just spend a whole bunch of time on puppies, right? Like that's your own, you know, but it's a chain reaction. Everything's a chain reaction. You let this get out of hand over here, just like kennel cough. You know, you let it get out of hand over here, it ends up spreading to your puppy operation too. So you want to make sure that you're getting rid of these parasites, however your methods are, you know. But great presentation on the medications and stuff.
Doing this about 4 times a year. That works very well for us. Our dogs are typically quite healthy, and it's unusual to have any kind of parasites in our dogs after following these routines.
And then monthly ivermectin.
Yeah, the ivermectin is once a month. The thing that we haven't really covered yet is vaccinations. There is a superb vaccination for parvo. Parvo is the biggest thing you have to worry about in terms of infectious diseases. And there's a company, Neopar, over in Tennessee, and we have a very good relationship with their researchers. And
see, parvo still is the big giant that everybody needs to be worried about, but there's a lot of other little giants. You know, that Giardia gets out of hand, you know, hookworms, pinworms, you know, different stuff gets out of hand. And, you know, heartworms is a silent killer, you know. So parvo still is a thing. You know, I don't want people to think just because there's 5 or 6 different major infections that they could have, parasites, that you don't have to worry about parvo, because you do.
we're able to stay. They keep us apprised of any developments and any changes in recommendations, and so we have a protocol that we follow that starts these guys off at 6 weeks with Neopar. What most people don't realize is there's not a set number of vaccinations that you give. I have people whenever I sell them a pup, they'll say, well, how many sets of shots have you given? They had their third set yet? Well, to start with, shots don't come in sets. It's an individual thing, and there's no way that it should be
shots don't come in
even
sets.
talked about like that. At any rate, there's not a finite number. If you start at 6 weeks, you got some vets that will recommend 3, even 4 weeks, which is ridiculous. We give every 18 days, and the more frequently you give them, up to a point, the less number of days that your pup is gonna have, in which they are basically naked in the wilderness, no immune function going on. The immunity is a certain amount of immunity is passed from the mother, and your objective whenever you're vaccinating a pup is you want to eliminate the maternal immunity and replace it with acquired immunity. And the only shot that counts throughout this whole process, even though you're starting at 6 weeks, administering a shot every 18 days until they're 5 months of age, the only shot that counts is the one immediately after the maternal immunity has been eliminated. So that's one reason that we use the Neopar vaccine, is because it's very powerful, it's very strong, and the stronger the shot is, the more effectively it knocks out the maternal immunity and replaces it with acquired immunity. So, but it only comes in a parvo-specific vaccine. It's only going to treat parvo, or it's only going to prevent parvo. So that leaves you needing to have a vaccination that addresses parainfluenza and distemper, etc. So we alternate. We will give the Neopar, and then the next week we'll come back with a quality 5-way, which helps to build immunity against distemper and parainfluenza and hepatitis. So we go.
Yeah, it's a lot of those 5-ways already have a parvo in there. I think the maternal immunity is a great thing. I kind of disagree why you would want to knock it out for the other immunity, but that's why you do your research and you do your study. But hey, we just reacting.
Go back and forth until we get 3 or 4 Neopars in the pup, and we will do the shots in between the Neopar shots. We use the 5-way to make sure that we're covering all the pertinent diseases, and again every 18 days until they're 5 months of age.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know how we do. You know how we do. This Buck City. We got it in. We got it in. We got it in the Tom Garner, Kennels, Medicine, and Husbandry video. We got it in. Now I'm gonna look, because I'm thinking the dog's immune system is gonna build and get stronger as it goes. So but we'll I'm gonna get on that. That's gonna be a topic that we're gonna get on, and I'm gonna probably pin both of these to it. And we're just trying to get these studies done and get these conversations had, so we can have these conversations on a regular. You dig? This is Buck City. We smacked him out the park. That was a good one. Tom Garner, he came with the meat and potatoes. So I would imagine that this video is probably gonna do a lot better than the controversial ones, because I like to believe that there's a lot of people that want to learn about this shit, and hear from people that can't get up on here and speak like a veterinarian and, different things. I want a little bit too much. They think I'm trying to be a vet and trying to promote, I mean, I don't know, man. Some people could just do different shit and some people can't, man. And you'll never understand it. I never understood it, but, hey, it is what it is, man. See y'all on the next one. Smash that like button. Peace.